So essentially what you're saying is that when the IMF in its fifth review of Ghana's program under the Extended Credit Facility scheme says that in 2025 through end Q3, losses from the artisanal and small-scale Dory Gold transactions component of G4R have reached $214 million, which represents 0.2% of GDP, mostly on trading losses, but also on gold board off-taker fees. And the fact that these are losses from artisanal and small-scale Dory Gold transactions under the program, which has reached $214 million, as I did indicate. And that for them is a loss. And it is something that bothers the IMF. From your analysis, are you suggesting this is really much ado about nothing?
Yes, it is. Let's also not forget that there were times when our CD was in trouble. We'll head to the Eurobond market to borrow to come and shore up the city. The monies we borrowed from the Euro market were not free money. We had to pay back in foreign currency and at pretty high interest rate, between 10 and 12%. If you don't consider the interest rates or the cost of those borrowings as a loss to the state, then I don't see how you consider the 214 million supposed loss as negative for the economy.
Now, Doc, help us understand something. Now, before we even get to this whether profits or loss matter on the side of the central bank, was the gold board, by its fiscal, its policy design, created to or set up to make profit or loss necessarily for playing that intermediation or intermediary role?
I've heard this question a few times, and my reference in terms of a response has been to the Gold Board Statute of Establishment, Act 1140. And it is quite clear that Gold Board was set up as a mechanism to help stabilize the forex market, the local currency. So you see by and large that the company, that the Gold Board, has a quasi-commercial function. Because for you to be able to help shore up the local currency, you need to get involved in gold trading. But gold trading with the purpose, primary purpose, of bringing in enough dollars so that Ghanaian businessmen will be able to access dollars at a lower cost. And I think that is the overriding function of the Gold Board. And to achieve that, it has to be able to regulate markets. So it's also a regulator. So it's a quasi-commercial, quasi-regulatory body. That's what I gleaned from reading the Act of Establishment of the Gold Board.
Now, the Chief Executive Officer of Gold Board, Sammy Gyamfi, then says they are yet to fully roll out their mandate, and that for 2025, they've just maintained more or less the PMMC status quo. And that if you look at the Act, so again, you've walked us through some of the objectives, but there's quite a number of them. One, to achieve the object under Section 2, the Gold Board shall be responsible for the marketing of the gold resources of the country, set standards on the quality, purity, and weight of gold sold in, stored in, or exported from the country in compliance with international best practices, ensure value addition to the gold of the country, including regulating the local fabrication of gold into castings, mints, jewelry, coins, bars, bullion, industrial components, or other forms of value storage. Buy a portion or all of the gold produced by large-scale mining companies in line with the preemption rights of government exercised by the minister responsible for mines under Section 7 of the Minerals and Mining Act 206, Act 703. And it goes on and on and on and on. So the head of that institution says, look, we haven't even started yet. We're just, we're taxing more or less, if you look at the aviation sector. We're yet to set off. Do you, from where you sit, see same, which is that, look, they are yet to really fully roll out their full mandate?
You see, what many Ghanaian commentators are not aware of is the fact that Go Board only recently completed its recruitment exercise.
Okay.
It is still setting up. When you go to the offices, you find that the office furnitures and other, office equipment they need are not complete. The recruitment was undertaken by KPMG on behalf of the Go Board, and it was completed sometime about a month or 2 months ago. So I think it would be unfair to expect that all the functions that you read of the Go Board will be met within this short period. One of the things mandated by the Act establishing the Go Board is the introduction of a traceability system. I'm aware Go Board has received a lot of proposals, and they are currently reviewing them to be able to select a vendor to be able to put together a traceability system that prevents illicit gold from entering the system. Again, I personally, when the Go Board developed its operational instruments and application documents, let me disclose that I work as a senior technical advisor for the UK Ghana Gold Program. The UK Ghana Gold Program is a UK Home Office support to the government of Ghana in dealing with illegalities in the mining sector, especially in the small-scale mining sector. And we have a memorandum of understanding to provide technical support to the Go Board. So we took all the operational instruments and their law and reviewed them from the perspective of how they respond to Ghana's international obligations. One, the Financial Action Task Force, whose sub-regional body is the Intergovernmental Agency Against Money Laundering in West Africa, GIABA. And again, we reviewed them in terms of how they respond to the OECD guidelines on responsible mineral sourcing. These two documents require that Ghana took steps to enhance its due diligence process. So in terms of licensing, you need to know who you award trading licenses to. And so to this regard, the Go Board is working closely with the Financial Intelligence Center. All applications for licenses are referred to the Financial Intelligence Center for vetting and assessment against money laundering risk. A feedback is given to Go Board, and then Go Board will proceed with other levels of the customer due diligence, which includes a police background check of the applicant. All these things are intended to rid the sector of illegalities. So when we did our review, we saw some gaps. And so the UK Ghana Gold Program convened a meeting between the Financial Intelligence Center that is responsible for the implementation of the Anti-Money Laundering Act in Ghana, and then the Go Board. So we met at Holiday Inn, and together, facilitated by the UK Ghana Gold Program, we went through all the documents and highlighted the gaps and made proposals for bridging the gaps. Go Board on that same day quickly incorporated all the proposed amendments and returned them back for a review. We looked at them together with the Financial Intelligence Center, and we gave them the go-ahead. But there are still gaps that remain in the primary act that ought to be addressed. So we flagged them for future amendments. I say this for Ghanaians to understand that Go Board is an innovative approach to enhancing our benefits from our gold trade. It may not be perfect at this time because it doesn't have a precedent to be able to follow. What the precious mineral marketing company was doing did not reflect in the stabilization of our local currency. What the gold board is doing is reflecting in the stabilization of our local currency, which means we are doing something right. Let all those who have ideas to contribute to this project do so. And in fact, the Gold Board Act requires Gold Board to publish quarterly reports. And it says the reports must be publicly disclosed. And citizens who have suggestions in terms of how this project can be improved should send feedback to the Gold Board. So rather than pulling down the house, I will encourage all Ghanaians to share ideas. See how we can actually make the best out of this initiative.
That's interesting. My penultimate question to you, Doc, is this. There was a revolving fund of some 279 million US dollars, which was supposed to be given to Gold Board to start its operations. Now, per our checks, that money has not been made available to them. So what Gold Board has essentially been doing is to, as you rightly said, to act as an intermediary. So they collect money on the bank on behalf of their clients, and they buy gold for them. In some cases, they sell. Now, I want to understand that some have said this temporary shift in what I call in the way Gold Board does its work has also then threatened the finances, or has threatened the work operations of the Bank of Ghana. I don't know where you stand on this matter, and that we must get to a point where Gold Board itself must go and find the money from somewhere and buy the gold for their clients and collect the money from their clients. I don't know what you think about this.
Yeah, at the time when the 2025 budget was read, I think some amount of money was allocated to the Gold Board.
Yes, 279.
Exactly. Now, as at now, that money has not been disbursed.
Yes.
And so in the Ghana EITI report, which will be published by 31st of December in a few days, would actually has actually commented on this. The observation is that in future, when monies are disbursed to institutions like Gold Board, when they are allocated in the budget to institutions like the Gold Board, the Minister of Finance will ensure that the Gold Board gets the money to do the work. Where, for whatever reason, the monies are not disbursed, the Minister of Finance is advised to provide an explanation in its mid-year budget. So that is one observation that we make. Again, we have observed that the relationship between the Gold Board and Bank of Ghana was not made public. So we recommend that in future, any trading relationship between the Gold Board and any third party must be publicly disclosed, especially the financial relationship and the allocation of risk and benefits. It's important that we know. If we had known all these earlier, I don't think we would be going through this, debate at this time.
Let me end with this. So Erastus Asaridonko, who we all know to be, call it our anti-Galamsey, foremost reporter. Now, he put something up on his wall, and it's been trending. It says, "Let us not demonize Gold Board. The absence of it is dangerous. Let's rather work to make it better. we cannot destroy our environment and lose the gold to Chinese and Indian smugglers. Do you find this apt?
This is a comment from a responsible and a patriotic citizen. We need to be reminded of the fact that illegal mining had gone on even under previous governments. But Ghana did not derive any benefit from the illegals, from the trading of the resource, which is the product of illegal mining. And the benefit was largely going to foreigners. If we are going to suffer the environmental damage, then the benefits of that exercise must go to Ghanaians. But we should, of course, take steps to minimize the environmental toll. And to do this is the reason the Gold Board is required to establish a traceability system. Yeah. A time will come when the chain of custody of gold from the mine to the market will be documented. And this will make it difficult for illegal gold to enter the supply chain. What I mean is, you see the way you sell your car? You buy a car, you are the original owner, so all the car documents are with you. When you sell the car to another person, you do transfer of ownership. And when that person also sells to another person, he also does transfer of ownership. So you can trace the people who have been in possession of the car all the way to the original owner. Okay. This is where the Gold Board is heading towards. And once we get there, you find that the strategy has actually justified the ends. Now, again, let me also indicate that Gold Board does not intend to continue buying gold at zero discount. In fact, what we're discussing now is an arrangement between Gold Board and Bank of Ghana. But Gold Board recently concluded consultations with gold miners and traders in respect of a mutually acceptable discount rate for their gold trade. And this will go into implementation in 2026. So from 2026 going, Gold Board will not be buying gold at the going international market price, but at a discount to be able to cover its operations. The Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners can attest to this, and also the traders.
All right. Doc, I'm not going to keep you for too long. I know that you are also an Ebusia Penyi. I know that you have you have many people who actually depend and rely on you for all kinds of things, and you know they come to you especially in the mornings for you to attend to them. So I wouldn't want to take too much of your time, but somebody just drew my attention to something that you posted on your page, and I thought it was quite interesting. You said you're saying that, oh, okay, so you're asking us to be good citizens, and that if we have any ideas on how we can make this work even better, we should offer them and stop pulling down their house. What was your motivation for putting this one out?
You see, Ghana is blessed to have a very receptive and responsive government. If you look at the process leading to the establishment of the Gold Board, it was very participatory, very consultative. A lot of our CSOs had the opportunity to engage with the process. We made suggestions in terms of how it can be improved. Some were accepted, others were not. But we are happy with the final outcome of the arrangement to ensure that Ghana optimizes benefits from its gold resources. But we didn't say we have a perfect situation. But as we go along, I expect every good citizen who has knowledge and expertise in this area to provide them to the Gold Board so that they will be incorporated and make the whole experiment much better. Not too long ago, I was in Zambia, sorry. I was in Zambia and attending an international conference on the mining sector with focus on green minerals. And I discovered that there's so much interest in what the Gold Board is doing. And many international observers inform me that they want to pay a visit to Ghana to learn from the Gold Board experiment. So if we can all support the process, there is a way in which Gold Board that we see today will become an international best model for managing gold resources and other natural resources of resource-dependent countries. So I think we need to support it. I mean, we should not allow politics to destroy mechanisms put in place to help us optimize our value from our natural resources.
Well, I listened to an interview that Sammy Gyamfi granted yesterday, and he sounded a bit, I don't want to use angry, not angry, but he sounded a bit frustrated with what appears to be an attempt to demonize the institution, and he kept referring to what used to be what used to be the case in the past and how things have improved, now, and yet some critics want to paint a different picture. I guess that you would want to have a word of encouragement or motivation for him this morning. I'm sure that he's watching.
Yeah, yes, it can be frustrating when you are doing something with the best of intentions and you find people trying to distract you from your mission. But I've known Sammy Gyamfi for a while, a very smart guy and all that. I think the attack on the Gold Board is all because of Sammy Gyamfi. If you put another person there, okay, all this noise will stop. I mean, and it all comes out of envy. My advice to him is that he's doing a good job. He should remain focused. He's got majority of Ghanaians behind him. And so he should not feel or not be distracted by the very few people who are making so much noise about this 214 million loss incurred by the Bank of Ghana. Would rather make losses to stabilize our economy and lay the foundation for economic growth than to make no losses and yet have no impact on the macro economy and run an economy with very high inflation, high exchange rate, and then high fuel prices, high inflation and everything. I mean, we've gotten to a point where I think the benefits of the Gold Board activities outweigh the losses.